My name's Charlie Law. Today I'll be talking to you about personalization, voice, and image principles. A quick overview of what I'll be talking about in this presentation. First, why I chose personalization. Then I'll delve into personalization, the principle, and provide evidence from the text. And then I'll also briefly talk about voice and image principles with evidence from the text. Finally, I have examples of the image principle from YouTube at the end. So why did I choose this topic? I've used personalized approach in my teaching for a long time. I've been teaching for over 15 years and have been tutoring for the last couple years. And it's the approach I use the most. So I'd like to know if it's effective, and I'd like to know if I could do anything different to improve my teaching and tutoring. Now, I also included the voice and image principles because they were in the same chapter and I thought they were related, so this presentation will be a little bit longer than I had intended. So first of all, we're going to talk about personalization. Learning is a social event. Learning alone could be a problem. However, it is possible to make learning alone a social event through the use of multimedia. Meyer, Fennell, Farmer, and Campbell identified two paths to do this. First, it reduces the learner's cognitive load, which frees the learner to engage in more active cognitive processing. It also increases the learner's motivational commitment to active cognitive processing. So how can we increase the learner's feeling of social presence? Through personalization. And it's actually quite simple how to do this. So two ways that researchers have looked at. First, using you and I instead of third-person constructs. And secondly, adding sentences in which the instructor makes direct comments to the learning. And you can see the example there underneath that. And I'm going to go through some of the research and provide examples of how easy this is to do in a little bit. Now, importantly, personalized and non-personalized content contain this, personalized content, contain the same content. So it's not any additional information. It's the same exact information. It's just delivered differently. So here's an example of instructions on conducting a MANOVA using SPSS, which is actually a horribly boring thing to teach anyways, but it's made even more so by not using a personalized approach. So you can see it's very straightforward, very mechanical. And I'm actually going to show you a video of what this might look like next. Click on Analyze. When a pop-up menu appears, click on General Linear Model and then select Univariate. A new window will open. Place the dependent variable into the box labeled Dependent Variable. Next, select the independent variables and place them into the box labeled Fixed Factors. Finally, click on OK to see the output. To make that last example more personalized, you can see all the white font is the exact same information I had in the non-personalized version, but the yellow font shows how I've added words like you or you'll, and I've also included additional sentences like this isn't as difficult as it seems, or but don't worry, I'll walk you through it. The next video will show you how this is done as well. This isn't as difficult as it seems. First, you click on Analyze. When a pop-up menu appears, you click on General Linear Model, then select Univariate. You will see a new window open, and it looks complicated, but don't worry, I'll walk you through it. You'll place the dependent variable into the box labeled Dependent Variable. Next, you'll select the independent variables and place them into the box labeled Fixed Factors. Finally, you just need to click on OK to see the output. Personalization can be effective. Moreno and Meyer compared learning outcomes of students who viewed 140-second narrated animation on lightning formation, in which the speaker used conversation or formal style of presentation. Now, both versions included the exact same description of the steps in lightning formation. However, the personalization group had the personal pronouns included, as well as additional sentences to make it more personal. And they did better on the transfer of learning than the non-personalized group. So here's an example of that. Cool, moist air moves over a warmer surface and becomes heated. The warm, moist air near the Earth's surface rises rapidly. As the air in this updraft cools, water vapor condenses into water droplets and forms a cloud. This is the non-personalized version. Now here you can see the personalized version. The author has included 2 additional sentences at the beginning and an exclamation and another sentence at the end. It doesn't add anything pedagogically, but it does provide that personal feeling for the content. Moreno and Meyer compared learning outcomes. They also compared learning outcomes of students who learned from an environmental science simulation game with Herman the Bug. In the personalized version, Herman spoke in a conversational style, while in the non-personalized version, he spoke in a formal style. And similar to previous study, the personalized group did better. Finally, Meyer, Fennell, Farmer, and Campbell created a 60-second narrated animation explaining the human respiratory system. I'll show you an example of this as well. Non-personalized used the instead of your, and the personalized used your. This minor change in wording led to a moderate to large effect size for transfer of learning. So here you can see the non-personalized version, and I've gone ahead and put all of those in a yellow font, and you can compare that to this slide where the thes were changed to yours. And again, just changing the wording, that simple change increased transfer of learning. Now there are some boundary conditions for the personalization principle. First of all, it shouldn't be overdone. If it's overdone, it could be a distraction. So friendly is good, but only if still providing the pedagogically useful information and not overdoing it. Secondly, the conversational style benefits may diminish as learners gain more experience with the online tutor or the professor. There are some implications. First of all, it does support social agency theory. So the social cues can have a substantial effect on a learner's understanding and transfer of learning. And more importantly to us, instructional designers should consider this when designing course content. It is important to make it personal, but not to overdo it. Next, I will be talking about the voice principle. The voice principle simply states that people learn more deeply when the words and the message, the multimedia message, are spoken by a human voice rather than a machine voice. So the idea is a human voice may convey more of a social presence when compared to a machine-generated voice. The evidence on this is pretty interesting. Meyer, Sabko, and Martone found that students who received a 140-second narrated animation on lightning formation in a non-personalized style did worse than those who had a human voice narration. Atkinson, Meyer, and Merrill found similar results for arithmetic word problems. Students who heard a mechanical voice did worse than students who heard a human voice. There's also other evidence that shows it's fairly important. Meyer, Sabko, and Martone found that students do better when the tutor is a standard accented voice compared to those who heard a Russian accented voice. You'll hear this in a video I show at the end of my presentation where one of the videos, it's a personalized video, but has a very thick Southern accent. Now, Nass and Brave found that people respond differently to other social aspects as well. So the speaker's gender, the speaker's ethnicity or race, and even the speaker's emotional state. Now, this is very interesting because Nass and Brave found that people may be more influenced by online spoken messages when they perceive that the person speaking is similar in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, or emotional state. This reminds me of the psychological construct of the similar to me effect, where we like people more if we believe that they are similar to ourselves. Finally, I'm going to briefly discuss the image principle. The image principle is also very interesting. It basically looks at the idea that placing the image of the teacher or the professor or the narrator on the screen may cause problems. It may split the learner's attention between the content and the image. So Moreno, Meyer, Spires, and Lester investigated this, and they showed Herman the Bug's image on the screen as he spoke. Participants in that condition did worse on a subsequent problem-solving transfer test than those who only heard the voice. Now, the research is mixed on this. Follow-up studies show this isn't always the case. Participants who saw a video of a human talking head performed slightly better than those who only heard the voice. And Meyer, Dow, and Meyer found that students in an image present group performed slightly better than those in the no image present group. I'm going to show you two examples on YouTube, one with the image of the professor and one without. This first video shows you an instruction for SPSS without the image of an instructor.
In this video, I'm going to be performing a MANOVA in SPSS. Now, a MANOVA is probably one of the most complicated statistical analyses that can be performed in SPSS, and I suspect a lot of people approach doing a MANOVA with a certain amount of trepidation. I'm going to create this video in such a way to try to allay that trepidation, because I'm going to go through the main features of a MANOVA.
This second example is a video with an instructor's image and a very horrible southern accent.
Hello, my friends. We're about to launch our inquiry into MANOVA. It's a beautiful morning here in Texas today. This old hot coffee sure is good. Well, let's launch this little endeavor. MANOVA is about comparing one or more dependent variables across two or more groups. And MANOVA stands for Multivariate Analysis of Variance. And ANOVA is a...
That's all I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation on personalization, the voice, and the image principles.